Welcome into the Chasing Trails podcast, brought to you by St. John Trail Running and powered by Resilience Through Fitness. Join two middle-aged dads as they sit down and talk trail running, life, and everything in between. Now, here are your hosts, Jeff LeBlanc and Brandon Thompson. Welcome in, everyone. It's another episode of the Chasing Trails podcast. You got Jeff and Brandon here with you, welcoming you in. Thanks so much for tuning in on the night of which we're recording this. It is election night in Canada. For those of you listening in the United States, we're picking our next governor of the United States, or governor of Canada, I guess, if you wanted to put it that way. We're picking our prime minister. So, Jeff, did you get your vote in?
I did. Yeah, I got out at lunch at work today and cast my very important ballot for a riding that I'm pretty sure is only going one direction. So I'm not super worried about it, but that's the downside to Canadian politics, right? Sometimes you live in a riding where it's likely going to go the direction I voted, so I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, I felt like my vote didn't matter for the area in which we run from Hanwell all the way up to the Tobique, Perth Andover or above. That area is generally a blue ticket. So generally speaking, I would suggest that that's likely what the outcome is going to be. So
that's a huge riding. That's massive.
Yeah, from a geographical location, like you can't tell me that the guy that lives in downtown metropolitan Perth Andover is the same as Hanwell, which is literally basically Fredericton. So not a city, so we don't have that, but definitely a different point of view, or managing that huge riding would be really difficult, right? And you got a lot of influence in there when you think about that covers the McCains, a lot of Irving land. Like there's a lot of big business and big farmers that would be involved in that riding. So
for sure,
that would certainly drive the political climate, so to speak, in that area. So anyway, hopefully we didn't just get canceled, because if you listen close enough, I guess you can tell which way I voted. But
yeah, that's right. We know which way you lean. Reading between the lines. But I went and voted as well. It was pretty quick. I took one of my daughters just to go see what it was like. She wanted to know what the voting process was like, and so I did that with my dad when I was a little kid, just to see what it was like to vote. And it was pretty short and sweet, so we didn't have to wait at all.
Did she realize how extremely boring it was and unexciting? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was it wasn't nearly as impressive as I remember it when I was a kid. I thought it was pretty cool.
I feel like they staffed today based on what the advanced polls were like. Because in my area, all weekend of the advanced polls, the church they had it at just down the street from my house was packed. The parking lot was full the whole time. And I walked in there today, and they had 4 people at the front door doing nothing. And they had 6 people in the gym at different stations also doing nothing. And I asked, I'm not saying that to give them a hard time. There just was no one there. Yeah. I asked, if they were busy, and they were like, absolutely not. We have had basically no one in here today, very, very slow. And then they said, but during the advanced polls, we didn't have enough people, and it was crazy in here. You were a 45-minute to an hour wait to vote during the advanced polls. And I was like, well, I'm glad I came today then, because I literally walked in, right up to the counter, voted, back out I went, and although I didn't get my 3-hour allotted time for required voting from work, right? So, man, it is what it is. Yeah,
it is what it is. Well, it took me literally maybe 2 minutes, so I didn't need 3 hours of allotted time. I could have, it was
I think
so
that's
quick.
Actually only for people who work 12-hour shifts and can't get to the polls during their shift. For someone like me who finishes at 4:30 and the polls don't close at 8:30, I don't think that my employer would actually honor that 3-hour requirement, but nor should they, if we're being honest.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, shifting gears from politics, let's talk about something equally as painful. Let's talk about our training plans. How are things going with your training plan?
The last week is non-existent. If you, if you
So it hasn't been painful at all. That's wonderful.
It hasn't been painful at all. I lost a week of training to busyness, and then I went to a concert on the weekend in Toronto, which was like a 3-day little mini trip, and so yeah, I was. I basically lost a week of my training, which is I think fine. Like I'm not that worried about it at the end of the day. I got a lot of walking in Toronto, so I mean it wasn't like I just kind of sat around. Like I on Sunday morning I did 17 or 18,000 steps, from the hotel down to the waterfront, and walked down around the waterfront. And we were staying up on Bloor Street, so it was like a long walk from the hotel, probably an hour or so. But I was flying out of the island, so I was like, well, I could Uber down, or I'm awake and it's 10 o'clock and it's beautiful and sunny. Like I might as well see part of the city. So I took some random roads down to the city. Some were a little more seedy than others, and maybe I'll find a different block to walk on. I know it's Sunday morning at 10:30, but this isn't looking great, so I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So it took me a little longer to get downtown than I expected, but I was trying to be adventurous, and but I'd honestly never gone down past like Air Canada Center in Toronto. So like I'd never actually gone down to the waterfront, so to speak. And the funniest thing, I was walking along the trail, the little path they had there, and I walk up and I see this big sign, and it's like lifeguard not on duty. And then I see this like cement box with sand in it, and all these like recliner chairs and umbrellas as if it was a beach. And then it was like a big deck and dropped into the harbor. And I was like, this is not a beach. Why are you advertising there's no lifeguard on duty? Nope. First of all, no one's swimming in that water.
That's right.
Second of all, this playground sand patch that you put in doesn't qualify as a beach. Like no one should assume that you should swim here. But anyway, I found that to be very funny.
That's right.
in a critical sort of way, I guess. So, anyway.
Have I ever told you about my encounter with a topless woman in Toronto? Have I ever told you that story before?
How have I not heard this story? So in one of those more seedy areas, I had an encounter with someone not wearing pants,
right?
Coming out of a McDonald's and like yelling at me, and I was like, I'm gonna cross the road even if I get hit. Like I'm out of here,
right?
But not a topless woman.
Okay, so I think I'm maybe. How old am I? I think I'm still maybe just starting university, maybe just finished high school. I'm going with my brother-in-law, Ben, is taking a group of students up for a conference in Toronto. And it was like so hot in the summertime, and there was a garbage strike. And so there was just piles of garbage everywhere. And we were going out to hand out bottles of water in the park, like similar down by the waterfront. So like in one of those stretches that you're describing. And so at this point in time, they had just made a law making it legal for women to go topless. And so in the city. And so I was handing out bottles of water with a group of students, and I'm not watching where I'm going. And all of a sudden I bump like chest to chest with this lady who has no shirt on. It's like 35 degrees on. And this lady was well endowed. Like it was not like an easy thing to know, to notice. Like there was no like downplaying it. Like I was just like, whoa. Like it was just like you had this moment. And I was like, here I am. Like I'm not even married or anything. I was just like, okay, all right. So it was an awkward encounter to say the least. But
did you give her a bottle of water? Wish her
here, ma'am. Here's a bottle of water. No, I don't even know. I don't even remember. I think I just ran away. Like I was just so embarrassed.
You just got embarrassed and took off, bumping into a half-naked woman. Good for you.
With humongous boobs. Anyway, it was just it was something else. But you guys didn't ask for that story. But that's part of my that's my Toronto story. I remember that very well.
Podcast sometimes you just get a story that you didn't know you needed, and we didn't know we needed that story, but it made my night. I don't know if anyone else's.
Yep. Standing nipple to nipple with this girl, like it was just amazing. But
awesome.
so anyway, back on track.
Back on track.
Shifting gears.
Yeah, I didn't. So I didn't get any training this weekend because I was I got invited up to go see the Metallica concert at Rogers Center.
Right.
And if you can hear my voice right now, it's still recovering from the evening. And there, it was crazy to see like 70,000 people at a concert. They sold out both nights, so But I was fortunate, and any huge Metallica fans out there, you'll be offended by me saying this, but I got to go to a Limp Bizkit concert, and I happened to see Metallica. So
yeah, that's
I
right.
was pumped, So the whole night I was like, everyone in the box, we got a corporate box was where we were at, and all these like kind of older guys that were definitely there to see Metallica didn't really know who Limp Bizkit was. They might have known one of the two of the songs. Me and my buddy who went, like, we were both super into Limp Bizkit, and they were like, "You guys really knew that band? You really enjoyed that?" I'm like, "Yeah,
that's right.
I can leave now." And they're just like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can have my seat up front." I mean, I like Metallica, but I don't know all of their songs, and their big songs they kind of split into two nights and didn't repeat them. So like on their 2-hour set, if you're a diehard Metallica fan, you bought tickets to both nights, and they made a lot of money on you. Yeah. But for those like me, they had a different opening band each night too. So, you got to see Pantera Metallica or Limp Bizkit Metallica. And I was super glad to have been there on the night that was Limp Bizkit because I don't even know any Pantera songs probably. I might know the odd one. But anyway, so, like I gave, the other guys who were big Metallica fans, the front seats in the box. And we just enjoyed the food at that point and still enjoyed it. But I only knew probably 3 of the 2-hour, like 3 songs of the 2-hour set from Metallica. But that said, they're super talented. And if you can appreciate how much talent it takes to play like that for 2 hours straight and sound that good, like he's old and he still sounds
like they're like 60s,
really
right? Yeah, they're like in their
right. And then like they put the drummer on the big screen and you're just like, wow, like this guy is going to it, and he's a talented drummer, right? Yeah, super talented drummer. So you can still appreciate the music and the talent without being like a big Metallica fan. But man, I could tell I was getting old because it was loud. Like, I was like, do we really need to have it this loud? Right. We could turn it down a little bit. But no, we had a great time, and so I missed a little bit of training, but I'm okay with that because I got to live a little bit of life, and so I got to get back at it this week, and this weekend I got some long runs coming, so
fantastic.
We'll make up for the pain. Yeah, fantastic. How are you making out?
I'm doing okay. I was a little. I was on my training plan most of the week. I did really well. I went for my long run and I pulled my hip flexor while I was running, and I was about an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes into it, a 3-hour block, and so I just bailed on it. I didn't want to make it worse, and so but it was like one of those annoying parts where the walk back was almost as long as just going through it, but at least it was on the road. I was doing it at Irving Nature Park, and there was a ton of people at the Irving Nature Park. Like it was like saying hi to everyone, like every few minutes, like you were running with someone. So that was kind of cool. But it was, so I had to kind of bail on it a little bit. But I did get quite a few training sessions in, and also I went today, and I've been running along in St. John. If you've ever been to Harbor Passage, like there's like this nice running trail, or like it's a walking trail, but I run on it, like that goes all around the harbor. And so I drop one of my daughters off at work, and then I just go run that in the nice weather. And so it sure beats the treadmill. But it's been like today, it was just, I've never felt my legs quite so tired as they were today. And so I got
super warm today in St. John like it was here.
Yeah, it was warm. I was tired. My legs were still tired. And I think I was dehydrated too, honestly. I don't think I drank enough water. So my heart rate was like really high. Yeah.
Right? That first time you run when it's above 20, your body's just like, what the heck are you doing?
That's right. You idiot. At least, what are you doing right now?
That's how my body feels. We've been running in the mornings and it's like 3 or 4 degrees, nice and cool. You're, no heat. And then that first afternoon run when it's like, 22, which isn't really that hot. We've run in hotter, both at Rockwood and other events. And and your body's just like, the first one is like, what, your heart rate instantly. What are you doing? It's like 175. You're just like,
Yeah,
oh, it
yeah,
sucks.
yeah. It's so like I feel like I'm barely moving, but my heart rate says like I'm running, at a pretty fast pace, and I'm like, you guys need to get on the same page here. Like you guys are drunk. I was like, what are you doing? And so I just had like a 30-minute, like I think it's just like get moving kind of run before the fun stuff happens the rest of the week. Like we've got a tempo run tomorrow, I think. And so I'm just trying to kind of take it easy, make sure I'm okay before we get really close to racing season. So yeah. So other than that, is like stretch, Brandon. Like maybe you should stretch and not hurt yourself. Like that seems to be the takeaway from me from this week is just don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid. That's right. Stretch. Very good at that.
Yeah, that's right. That's what. So we also start the intro run this week. So Catherine and I are going to be doing the intro run on Thursday.
Nice.
So that'll be lots of fun, and I'm looking forward to that too. So I think it could be. Hopefully, it'll work well for her as well. So
that's great. I heard my sister-in-law is doing that again. I think I heard.
Yes, so she is. Yep.
Yeah, so that'll be good.
So,
you'll see her there, and yeah, she really enjoyed it last time, so I'm sure she'll enjoy it again. Which is good.
I think Catherine will like she'll like the people aspect of it. Like she's like an old soul. She can talk to adults like nobody's business, and so she'll have a great time getting to know some of those people. So I think it'll be a lot of fun for her. But
yeah, that'll be awesome.
Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. You've heard quite a mouthful in our intro so far.
Weeks. No, just under just over 3 weeks. We're Rockwood in 3 weeks and 6 days or whatever. So yeah,
it should be fun. Giddy up.
Should be a good time. Giddy up, buddy. Yeah.
So did you see in our training block we have on Friday we have a 3-hour run, and then on Saturday we have a 4-hour run. That's gonna be oh man, that's gonna be lots of fun.
And with the nice weather up here, Fairton, my wife's gonna want to do yard work, and I have to break her heart that sorry, honey, you're probably gonna be doing that by yourself on Saturday. I already looked to see if any good golfers were at the golf tournament this weekend for the PGA, because probably Saturday afternoon will involve me laying on the couch after 7 hours of running Friday and Saturday. But yeah, that's my hope to get both of those in. I'm gonna try to get them both done out at Woolstock, and try to get a fair bit of climbing in. Just keep running out and back on Kelly's Lookout, and it'll be boring, but it'll be good quality, training for Rockwood, because that's the last big set before we do another decent sized week, but then a decent. I think that's like a 2-week taper.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest one. Like I think this is the biggest week this week.
Right.
But I think I'm gonna head to Rockwood this time because I had my bladder, but the tubes, my straw tubes got all mildewy or whatever. They got contaminated, so I had to throw them out. So I didn't have a bladder, so I had to use my car as like this aid station to keep refilling my flasks. But I got a new one, so now I should be able to go a little bit longer without having to go back. So
do you keep your hose in the freezer and your bag in the freezer?
So I keep all my flasks in the freezer. I never thought to put my hose in the freezer because I thought it would break the nozzle.
No.
And I usually try and keep it like fairly dry, but I must have just put it away by mistake. I don't think
you can get the tube clean enough to not put it in the freezer and not have it get some mildew in it or something.
Yeah.
I've never figured it out. I went through one from back when I was, using it to go hiking on the Fundy footpath, and then someone told me to keep everything in the freezer, wash it out, obviously as best you can, and then like let it dry, and then just put it all in the freezer so nothing can grow. And I've had good luck with that, but we store all of them in the freezer. But I mean, Jumpins, we have 3 for the kids. We need to get more because 2 of them are missing them. And then 1 for each Heidi and I. So like there's just a big bag of platypuses and flasks taking up space in our freezer. But anyway, it seems to work really well. So do that, you should be fine.
And it keeps your drinks cold too, like when you first have them, like they're
for
frozen,
like 30
right?
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. So they warm up against. I usually leave like a little bit, so I have like a little ice cube in the bottom of mine,
Right. Yeah.
and it keeps them fairly chilly until I get going. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's something we got to just deal with. So
Yeah.
it was only like it wasn't very expensive to get another bladder, so it worked out
No.
okay.
Yeah.
But
When you put off the heat that we do and you put a backpack on your back with water in it, it ain't staying cold.
you're lucky it's not boiling by the time we
Right?
get done, right?
It evaporates. That's why
that's
we
right.
keep overheating.
That's right.
Water evaporates.
That's right. We could make tea, like just like pour out, I think, a little tea. Make it. You like some boiling water? Yeah. But anyway, so today, Jeff, we've got Wayne Walsh with us today. Wayne is coming to us from Newfoundland, from paradise, if you can believe that. He lives in paradise. And Wayne, if you follow him on Instagram at all, Wayne has done a lot of serious ultra trails, and we try and reach out to the rest of the maritime provinces as well to try and hear some of their stories. And Wayne's got some great ones that he's going to share with us. He's run some major races. He's done UTMB. He's done canyons. Yeah, he's done the East Coast Trail 50K, which is just a beast. And so it's an amazing experience. Maybe it's a 50 miler. It's a 50 miler, not a 50K. And he's just a great guy to chat with. And so we hope that you'll enjoy our conversation with Wayne Walsh. All right. We are thrilled to be able to welcome into the studios Wayne Walsh from the beautiful Rock, all the way from Newfoundland. Wayne, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us. We're glad that you're here.
Hey, not a problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
So, Wayne, you've done quite a few ultras. You've got a few under your belt now, of course. You've done UTMB, you've done canyons, you've done the East Coast Trail Ultra. So you've got a lot of those under your belts. But would you just kind of start us off like we do with every kind of conversation, and just tell us your running story? We'd love to hear how you got into ultra running and what that means for you.
Yeah, it's not a long story, to be honest with you guys. Like, I picked up, I've always considered myself to be a hockey player. That was, until I guess 2018 rolled around, and we had a little break in our beer league playoff. And I said, well, I must get out and do something there to keep the fitness up a little bit between, our series had ended and we were moving on to the next. We had a little bit of a layoff. Anyway, long story short, wife introduced me to Strava, and yeah, being the competitive, having that competitive nature that I do, the segment thing kind of appealed to me. A few of my buddies who live in Paradise here in the neighborhood were kind of competing on these segments, and I said, well, that's pretty cool. I don't have to be racing actual races. I can just go out and bomb around on these short little segments. Anyway, one thing led to another. It wasn't long before I had a calf tear.
Oh.
And yeah, and then I got introduced to a Concept 2 rowing machine, and I kind of built fitness on that for a while, and I got involved in the Royal St. John's Regatta here in St. John's, and kind of figured out how to actually train properly, with a fitness aspect. And I guess that brought me into 2019. Somewhere along the way, I'm not that fast on the roads. So to be competitive, I said, well, maybe I can run longer than most people or something like that. And
Right.
I seen a local guy, Robert Pond, was a race director, and he was throwing these races out on the trails. And I said, well, that's pretty neat, right? Get out on the trails. And one of them happened to be in Terra Nova Provincial Park, where we've got a cabin in the town of Terra Nova. I said, well, that's cool. We can make that happen. And that was 43-ish kilometers. That kind of opened the door into where this thing was starting to lead me, right? From there, I ended up, running a few road races, but the ECT 50 was a big bucket list item, and I knocked that off in 2019 as well. And then COVID, of course, came around, and I said, well, maybe we'll do something a little bit longer. We've got all this time now to actually prepare for stuff. And I had registered for Steep 100K, which is a trail race in Corner Brook here on the west coast of the island. And, of course, that got shut down.
Right.
And just on a whim, I kind of said, well, why don't we run all the northern section of the ECT, which is 105 kilometers. I did that in September 2020, I believe it was. Anyway, that led to a load of injuries, but it was enough to get me started into, you know, what it means to run 100K or, you know, the long distance endurance events, right?
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it kind of went from there in a hurry. Ended up out in Alberta. I guess it was the following summer for Great Canadian Death Race.
Yes.
So I knocked that one off the list, and then, you know, I had heard about UTMB, you know, the final UTMB in Chamonix, and I said, well, you know, it's a cool little goal to put off down the road, and I can knock off a few of these big races while we're, you know, collecting the stones or whatever you had to do at the time. Yeah, so I ended up, and me and Dan Meads went down to California. We raced Canyons 100K down there. And then my wife and I did a vacation in Italy around a race out there, around the Lavarito 120K event out there. Anyway, it was enough tickets in the lottery to get me into UTMB, which ended up being last year. Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, it spawned off in a real hurry, but yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So we'll get to UTMB in a minute, but one of the things that I'm always impressed with, and I've never been to Newfoundland, which is one of my greatest failings as a human being. I got to get to Newfoundland. I'm just so impressed with how rugged it is. Like the parks that they have there are just amazing. And so you've run all over the world. Like you've run through multiple countries in Europe. You've done, the west coast of the U.S. with canyons and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Tell me, how does Newfoundland match up to some of those things? Like, how does it compare? Yeah. Maybe that's not fair. Maybe that's like asking you to pick a favorite child or something. But like, what's your experience with Newfoundland, and how is that compared to some of those other places you've been?
Man, like we always say here, we've got the most technical, rugged, punchy trails that probably on the planet, right? That right. I've certainly ran on, right? Everything here is a rock or a root. There's not very much that's flat, and there's not a whole lot of, runnable terrain. It's either you're going up or you're going down, and the climbs are short in terms of a mountain race. Obviously, they're, the best elevation gain that we can get here is probably 200 meters from sea level up, right? So you get a number of those in a race or along any part of the ECT. But, it's not like, California's got California carpet. It's clay. It's like running on sidewalk, but it's, mud, right? And here it's single track dirt. One part you might be mud up your knees. Another part it's, you're making sure you're not slipping off the side of a rock and ending up in the Atlantic Ocean, right? So,
yeah. Man, it's an amazing spot. Now, I know you and Dan have been working together to kind of develop a lot of the trail scene, and that's just from an outsider looking in. And so there's probably lots more people involved and that sort of thing. I don't want to throw them out, but tell me what's going on. Like, tell me how it's developing and how things are going there.
Yeah. So, I mean, the trail running scene in our neck of the woods anyway, it seems like it's still in its infancy. Like there's not a whole lot of folks that are out or even know about it. Getting people out is the main goal, and introducing them. Like that ECT 50, that's our Super Bowl of races as it relates to trail running here in Newfoundland. So obviously that's a huge goal for most people to try and accomplish, get that 50-kilometer ultra marathon finish. So Dan and I, in collaboration with the outfitters here in town, came up with this Train for Trails it's mainly Instagram based, but it's Train for Trails, and we publish a 50K training plan, and we try and guide people through that and answer any questions they may have as it comes along, right? So, you know, the ECT 50 being that marker event for everyone, it went from 100 entrants, and last year I believe we had 200, and this thing is selling out in an instant when it's posted online. So the interest is
Right.
really after growing, and you can see that any weekend we're out on the trails nowadays. It's before it was you'd go and you wouldn't see anyone for hours. Now you do cross paths with people who are out there, and it's always a good conversation to have with those folks to see how they're training, because before people just ran. Now people have they're actually training for something.
Cool.
And like 5 years ago, people just ran on trails and there was no structure to it whatsoever. Nowadays there's and especially for these big mountain races and stuff like that, we've got a good group that's training and putting in some real solid work for those types of events.
Yeah, neat. And so for those of us who aren't familiar, what are some of the big races? So you have the ECT, then you mentioned Steep. Is that back on now after COVID, or?
Yeah. It's got some new race directors. It's back on. Probably, I guess this will be the second or third year that it's come back. So that's over on the West Coast. They've got a 50K distance and a 100K distance there. Here on the East Coast, we've got the ECT 50, Joy Run 50. There's a couple of races nowadays that are coming up that are in the sub-ultra distance, which is great. And the outfitters just kind of taken hold with that as well, with a called Seaside Showdown series.
Nice.
So every other week, every other week or so, there's a short race on a section of the ECT, which is great to get people out, because not everybody, some people are intimidated by the fact that, if you think you're trail running, well, you must be trying to run an ultra, right? So
yeah,
we're kind of trying. I guess that was the mindset for a long time here, but it's not just all about the ultra here, and the outfitters, and there's another few race directors around town that are kind of bringing that thought back to people, that it doesn't always have to be an ultra.
Yeah, like we're getting ready to launch a beginners group, which starts off like with 3K, and you get to, I think the final race is an 8K. So it's just like a real intro level kind of to trail running, and then you can join in with the bigger ones. And the interest in there is huge. Like there's lots of, I think people just get intimidated by the 50,
exactly,
the ultra marathon distance.
And we're seeing that with even some other events that are popping up. Like there's another one that happens in Newfoundland. It's beautiful. It's a set of races out there. The 50K distances there. They've got this is called Rock Cut 50K, and they've got a half cut, which is 21K. And now they just introduced this year a shortcut distance. I can't recall the distance, 8 or 10K, I think. But I mean,
nice.
Talk about you're driving everybody who's got any bit of interest in trail running out to Twillingate. It's great for business out there.
Yeah.
And it's just a fantastic weekend. Everybody's out there, to race, and then the party after is a great time, and everybody can relax, right? So it's
fantastic.
Great.
Yeah. And then you've signed up. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you signed up for the Paradise Backyard Ultra. So now you've got a backyard, which is a totally different style of running than something like the East Coast Trail, right?
Yeah.
So what convinced you to kind of try and do the last man standing kind of deal versus just a regular kind of trail race?
Well, really, watching Big's Backyard kind of,
right,
and Lazarus Lake and all this sort of thing kind of planted the seed for that in our area, and it took us a little while to get it off the ground. But last year was the first year that it was put off. Myself and Peter Thompson did 30 hours. Peter did 31, so I was the assist on there.
Wow.
And yeah. But it's not my. I wouldn't say it's my goal race in a year, but it's just the community that comes out to this thing is fantastic. You get a real blend of your typical trail running folk, and then anybody who's a road runner. The trails are groomed trails, so and you don't need a special pair of shoes or anything like that.
Yeah.
You can just come out, and it doesn't matter if you're a fast runner or a slow runner. You just come out and look for that distance PB or time on feet PB, whatever you're up to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's different because you get like that little, depending on how fast you are, I guess, you get that little bit of a reset to go out again,
Yeah.
right? Versus running continually or stopping at an aid station kind of deal. It's got to have a different mindset.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'm more of a point-to-point kind of guy.
Yeah.
And doing the loops is definitely something new to me. But, you're always up for a challenge, or at least I am anyway, and actually see how far, because everything's so relatable. It's the same structure across the board with this thing. So, if you can do, Ehor's doing 107 hours or whatever the case may be, like, how do you stack up against something like that, right? Obviously, it's not close at this point, but, it'd be great for someone here to do maybe 48 hours and find herself on that Team Canada spot. You know what I mean? Like, so it kind of opens the door in that aspect to anyone to get in there and really give the mind and the body a good shot at it.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you got that competitive juice, like there's nothing more competitive than trying to be the last one standing. Like it is.
Yeah, you don't know when it's going to end. Yeah, it's definitely tough on the mind. That's for sure, right? Anything that comes up. Yeah, anything that comes up and you're thinking you're just coming up with excuses to stop at some point in time, right? But
right,
if you could get past that, who knows how long you can go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, of course, UTMB must have been a huge highlight for you. And I saw you even got like some news coverage and that sort of thing around a big celebrity around doing it, which I'm sure you must have loved.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah.
But tell us about your race. Like, what was your race experience like? I love hearing people's experiences. They go through one of the hardest races in the world.
Yeah, man. It was, it's hard to explain it. The worst part about the whole thing was one of my last training runs. I'm out on ECT and I twinge a calf. Oh. This is 2 weeks out. It's like one of my last of, before it, it's during the taper. So it's, it's winding down for sure. And I'm like, man, this is not good. So I'm super paranoid about this thing for a full 2 weeks leading in there. We get in. So, of course, we planned a trip around this thing again, my wife and I, and two friends of ours who ended up crewing me during the race. We fly into London, and the very first day in London, we want to walk around and do some tours and stuff like that. And we're, at that point, I think we're 5 days out or something from the race. I can't even walk around without limping, right? So I'm like,
man,
I don't know, man. It was like I had so much stress put on myself leading into the race. But just being in Chamonix at the time, it's, I don't know what to compare it to. Maybe it reminds me of when I first started university and you show up there for orientation and everybody's there for the same purpose. It's just, but there are people that are just going everywhere and they have no idea what they're doing. The place is, there's 10,000 runners doing all the UTMB events. And then they say there's like 50,000, volunteers and spectators and family and whatnot. So the place is jammed. And, you find yourself all of a sudden you're on the start line, and for me, I started well in the back because last thing I wanted to do was not even make it out of town, with, hurt myself. Right, I hadn't even run for 2 weeks at this point, so I was just super paranoid. Anyway, we I'm well in the back. We make it out of town. A wife said to me at one point in time, I think one of the first checkpoints I came across, I was 1800th or something out of 2700, right? So it was, a full march out of town because there's just so many people on this little trail. You're not moving very fast anyway.
Yeah.
Make it into the night. And actually, before we even make it into the night, one of the first climbs, I can't recall any of the names, so I'm going to butcher this.
That's all right.
Obviously. Yeah. Anyway, one of the first big climbs we had. Felt pretty good. I had the poles out, so I thought it was taking a lot of strain off my calf and whatnot. So confidence was growing in that. Came around the top of the hill and started bombing down this mountainside. I think it was 800 meters of descent over 8K or something like that. It was just consistent downhill, like nothing like I can find around here. and my quads were completely destroyed in the first 30K. And I put in a massive chunk of work for this thing. Like my elevation gains per week were, 5,000 and 6,000 meters for, a couple weeks at a time leading into this. And I was thinking, well, my legs should be ready. No, the first downhill was just blowing up the quads. Anyway, that was taking my mind off of any other pains I had at the time.
Right.
The quads were hurting so bad. So I go through the night, and you're seeing some folks on there. Like, I don't know if you know Andy Glaze. Like, he's big Instagram guy. I ran I don't know how many kilometers we ran together, but just chatting with him, was passing the time through the night. And some of the parts are pretty technical, so I felt great there. Whenever there was technical terrain, everyone else slowed down. I kind of, moved along.
Yeah, that's
and on
zone.
The climbs. Yeah, exactly, right. And on the climbs through the night, again, it felt like I had lots of power. So, passing people as we went along. Sun came up, and I don't know if you've seen on some of my Instagram pictures, but it's this picture I'll never forget in my mind, coming up over a climb, and you've got Mont Blanc Massif on the left, and, ice capped, like glaciers stuck in the mountains, and, just mind-blowing scenery.
Right.
Like nothing, like the mountains there, 2,500 meters, and you're looking down a valley and up the other side of this thing. Right. And oh man, it's just, and run along again for another little bit, and there's a load of cows and stuff like this along the trail with big cowbells going. Right. Oh man, I don't know. It was pretty nuts. I got into 130K, and I decided, well, I better change my shoes and shirt because I was feeling real low at that point. It was probably low on calories, and the sun had come out. It got kind of hot during the day. And I said, well, I'll change my shoes and I'll feel nice and fresh. It was a huge mistake. And I had a brand new pair of Hokas that I put on, and I typically wear Hokas for the race. Most of it I was wearing Arc'teryx Silence, which were fantastic, but I put on my Hoka Speed Goats that I normally wear, but they were kind of new, and I guess they weren't broke in enough. Anyway, the first descent, with my feet had swollen so bad, I jammed a toenail, like my big toenail, back into my toe. Like it was, so the quad pain went away. Yeah. And then it was all focused on the toes. Yeah. And everything I could do to save my toe, trying to scrunch my feet on the downhills, running downhill. I was like, man, I'm gonna rupture an Achilles or something here now doing this, right?
Right.
I don't know. I've got I managed to get through it. Like, I don't know how. I ran into a guy from Ireland, from Donegal, and he kind of saved my bacon later on in the race because he had lots of energy, and we kind of hit it off. And I don't know, the last maybe 30 or 40K we ran together at a pretty good pace. So, it was a struggle all the way, like full on zombie mode at the last aid station. Just, crippled, limping my way in, only to come out of this thing and be like, you got to go back down the hill now. And the first thing I think of is, how much does a helicopter cost to get off this hill?
That's right.
Yeah. So, limped my way into the finish there. I managed to move up. I think it was in the 350s or something like that out of 2,700 starters. So for the vast majority of the race, I was passing people, which was,
wow.
I guess that's kind of an adrenaline boost too as you're going on, right?
That's amazing. That's amazing. And it must have been awesome to cross the finish line. Like it's a big event when you cross the finish line, like at UTMB, right? Like it's
I finished, I think it was 2:30 in the morning or something like that. And, there's still people out. Maybe they're a little bit more rowdy than normal because the clubs are emptying out too, right? But ran it in at around 2:30 in the morning. The wife was there, and my buddy Robert, who I mentioned earlier, he was crewing, and his wife, and he was running along with me, recording the whole thing. And, had a beer there ready to go. Had one little sip out of it. I said, "Can't drink that. Put that away."
That's right.
Limped my way back to the Airbnb. Then after that, a couple of hours of, I don't even know if you'd call it sleep, but something. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you have in store for this racing season? You got any big plans to hit some big races?
Yeah, the Paradise Backyard Ultra is coming up again. That's in 3 weeks. So my
Hmm.
training right now is kind of moving into some more, trying to build that running economy a little bit. I just came off of three big weeks where I was just after elevation. So switching it up a little bit for this next training block. And then that'll lead me into the Backyard Ultra. And we'll see how that goes. Hoping for at least 30 hours again. Um, After that, we got a little bit of recovery, and then I'll start building on some more climbing again. I've registered for the Quebec Mega Trail 80K.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's part of the Canadian National Championships this year. So there's long course and short course. So I figured I'd try out the 80 and see what racing or 80K feels like. So
Yeah.
I know Kelsey Hogan's going to be there, so I'll be
Yeah.
trying to keep up with her for a little bit anyway.
Yeah, we've got a bunch that are coming from New Brunswick to QMT.
Yeah.
A lot of them are
Yeah.
doing the shorter distance, but there's still
Right.
some that have signed up for the big one. So that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. And then after that, I guess there'll be a lot of local stuff happening. Like I don't know what the schedule is for those yet, but they'll probably be thrown in on a whim. And then in August, wife and I are going up for Squamish 50-50 in BC.
Nice. Okay.
So that'll be a race number 2, I guess, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a sweet schedule. I mean, it's gonna be you got some fun ones in there.
Yeah, after that, it's all local stuff again. So probably Steep 100 and Rock Cut 50 I've done past couple years.
Yeah.
And ECT 50, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you've won the ECT 50 like 3 years in a row. Or something like that, haven't you?
Yeah. So yeah, I think so. I think it's been 3 years.
They're gonna start calling it like the Wayne Walsh Memorial Run. Like that's what they're gonna start calling it instead of the ECT.
I hope they do. Then I can retire, right? I won't
that's right.
Anymore, right? No, I've done well with that, and I mean it's like anything. If you're running, we're running those trails all the time,
right?
And you're running like the last time I ran this, the last 2 times really, it was a full race, like from start to finish. It wasn't just trying to finish the thing, coming in with a little bit left in the tank. Especially the last race, we there was 3 of us together for the first 25, 30K, and even towards the end, you'd be going up over a hill and I could look back and see another guy coming up not too far behind me, right? So that was a big confidence boost into how much effort you can actually put into 5 hours sustained, right? So it was that was one of the highlights of the career for sure. That last one was.
Yeah. The I'm curious to ask you this about your training plan, because Jeff and I have had lots of different experiences with training plans, especially since you're helping people with their own 50K plan. So Jeff and I have used Chat GPT to make a training plan.
Yeah.
We've used Free Trail, and then we've just kind of not used the plan and just kind of run until we're tired. How do you build a plan? Like what are kind of your essential blocks for it? What do you need to have in it? And like how do you go about like even putting that together?
Like personally, I've been following a similar plan over the past 3 years. This will be my 4th year of following this same plan, right? It's but it's just your typical plan where you have it's built on 3 weeks of work and then 1 week of rest. So your 3 weeks you've got your build weeks in those 3 weeks, and then you got your rest, and then you kind of pick up midway through on the next 3-week build, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to tailor it so that it's more race specific this year. So I'll do my a lot of time on the trails, obviously, but focused on climbing, and then there'll be a week again this week coming up. Now it's going to be a lot more. There'll still be some climbing, and my long runs will still be on the trails for sure, but I'm still looking to do a little bit of threshold and tempo work during the weeks on the road, or at least on a flat trail.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of blend it together as you move along. So later on in the plan, there'll be a bit of a combination of both. You a little bit of tempo stuff plus your big climbing weeks. But I think the main focus on the plan that I'm following is those back-to-back long runs on the weekends. We are spending a lot of time on tired legs on that second run. Even I think every, like, I don't know if it's not every block, but every second block, they have same day back-to-back long runs. So like even like Sunday, not Sunday past, Sunday prior, I did a 35K in the morning on East Coast Trail here, and then I followed it up in the evening with another 30K. So yeah, you're really feeling it by the time
No
it lasts
kidding.
a little bit. Yeah. I was glad that
How
I
was
ended
going
up
to work on Monday?
Yeah. Monday was a struggle. Yeah. I got so I did this on Saturday, and I was out on Sunday just to try and work it out of the body a little bit. I think me and the wife went out and we did 5 or 10K, and I was like, man, I am done. I'm happy that this is a recovery week coming up because it's just exhausted, right?
Yeah.
But I'm 43 years old. It's not like, and you guys know, like, you're putting in work. It takes a toll on you. You're not in your mid-20s anymore, and you can recover a little bit faster, right? So I'd love to think I am, and I act like I am a lot of the time. But
yeah, we're not like LeBron James that can spend like $1 million on our bodies every year, right?
No, I'm lucky I've got that Hyper Ice, the foot compression legging things.
Yeah,
like,
cool.
I throw those on, but I don't know. There's science behind it. I don't know what they actually do, but I'll do it anyway, right? Yeah, we got a hot tub here. I'll jump in the hot tub, make myself feel better there.
Right.
But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, Jeff is a big ice tub guy.
Yeah.
But we were trying to figure out, like, how cold does your ice tub actually have to be in order to be effective? And so the worst thing would be is, like, you're sitting in this cold tub and it's not actually doing anything. Like, you're just freezing your balls off. So it's like, why don't we do some science around this and figure out if it's actually worth it?
I've dabbled in I'm not a cold water guy. Like, I used to fill up the bathtub every now and then, throw a load of ice into it after, but it's a day where the humidex is, 37 or something like that. I just go soak in it just to cool off, right?
Yeah.
And that's all I've done. Brandon says I'm a big ice tub guy. I'm really not. I have no idea what I'm doing. I do get tight hips, and I have found that even 10-degree well water seems to help a little bit. I don't know that it helps as much as pure ice water does, but just this training block, I've been doing it more consistently after my long run.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, the science is behind it.
Yeah.
I just, I can't bring myself to do it often enough to make it worthwhile. You know what I mean?
It's tough. It really is.
Yeah.
My kids make fun of me because every time I get down to that tub, a squeal comes out, and they're like, I'm good.
Yeah, it's in the ice bath again.
Yeah, I'd rather have the hot tub. I'd rather do the hot tub than the cold tub. I'm not sure it helps any much, but
I enjoy the hot tub, especially for like heat acclimatization.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, getting used to the hot weather. I'll jump in the hot tub, and apparently that does something for you, according to David Roach. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll trust smarter minds than mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But. Yeah, that's fantastic. We're so thrilled, Wayne, to have the conversation with you, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. And we're cheering you on with the Backyard Ultras. I mean, I think that's just a fantastic challenge. We can't wait to hear how many hours you get. And,
hopefully it's a good spell.
Yeah, we got to get you over to New Brunswick sometime and do one of our races out here. We'd love to have you in.
Absolutely. I know Tim McDonough, who's
that's right
here. I'm sure he'll be more than welcome to have a runner dodge along with him for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's always talking about the ECT and talking about how great it is. And so, it would be fantastic to have you down. And we can't wait to see what the trail running scene looks like for you guys this summer.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
All right. Well, Wayne, keep in touch, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Take care. Well, Jeff, it's never a bad time to sit down and chat with a newfie, and I think Wade was just another great conversation, man. I love talking with him and just hearing about the racing scene in Newfoundland. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I've never been there and I've never experienced it myself, but it just seems like it's like this amazing experience to go run on some of those trails. Like it's so rugged, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because, you had talked about going to Japan last episode.
Right.
You've never been there, but neither of us have been to Newfoundland either. So maybe we could set our sights on something a little more realistic and try to go to Newfoundland together.
Newfoundland's a little bit closer. You're right.
A little bit, although it might not be any cheaper to get there. It's kind of difficult, right?
And there still might be a language barrier, so we'll have to make sure we have a translator involved, no matter what.
Yeah, but it was what a great chat. Just a chill dude and super nice guy. So I enjoyed that conversation for sure. Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. Tim McDonough has talked about the ECT an awful lot. Like he thought, like he's got high praises for that, and rightly so. It sounds like a great race, but to win that 3 years in a row is just like, that's kind of cool to be able to say that you've won this 3 years in a row, right?
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever done anything 3 years in a row. Like
I can't even figure out the 3 hard weeks of training, 1 week of rest. So
right,
like 3 weeks in a row is enough.
That's right.
So, be consistent for 3 weeks, Jeff. I don't know. That's going to be tough.
That's right. Try doing the same thing 3 weeks in a row. Exactly. That's the trickiest part. But it is cool to hear, what's going on there. And I'm really cheering for them and rooting for them as they try and continue to nurture the sport. And sounds like they're heading in the right direction. So I think we'll be hearing lots of good things about it, and just even hearing about the backyard ultra scene there too. Like I didn't even know they had one there, so that's kind of neat that they've got that going strong too.
And then it's a bronze race this year and a silver race next year. So next year's race will probably be a pretty big event. So that should bring some good good publicity for them for sure. Yeah. I really appreciate the way that they're going about offering to help train people. Just free coaching, free training plan, and just guys who know what they're doing and have a good heart for the community, and then just want to help. To me, that's one of the best ways you can build community and build relationships. So I think that's really great of them.
Right, that's right. Like what would you trust more? Like something that you Googled, like here's a free plan that's not that has no personal touch to it whatsoever, versus two guys who have literally just kind of crafted. You can call them up, or you can go see them and just say, hey, listen, what this is where I'm at. Well, how does that fit in? And I think that's just a really cool way to offer that. So we'll have to get on that.
I'm going to keep using ChatGPT for all my medical ailments because
it
gets back to me way faster than my family doctor does. But, at the same time, for my running advice, I'm going to stick to my coaches who've done it before. So
that's right. Forget Maple. Like you're on like Dr. GPT, right? Like that's you.
Right. That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. I had a 15-minute conversation with ChatGPT a week or so ago about my Achilles tendon, and it answered all my questions. Well, between ChatGPT and Adam, I seem to be on the mend, so that's good.
That's right. You know what I appreciate is ChatGPT doesn't ask you about your blood pressure. It doesn't ask you about your diet. Like it doesn't have any of those questions, right? So I'm like, hey, you're my favorite conversation right now.
It's true. ChatGPT did not tell me to lose weight. So
that's right. Top of the list now. Top of the list. Yeah.
Yeah. Best advice I ever got. Go ahead and eat that burger. Yeah, that's right.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It'll just make it easier for them to take over the world. Yeah, it'll make it easier for them to take over the world when we're all obese and can't run.
Please don't take our advice. Just go see your doctor, your physiotherapist, and your massage therapist, and your run coach.
Shout out to all the doctors who are listening. We appreciate you. We know that you're we know that you're busy.
Absolutely. Yes.
And you actually ultimately care about our health. So
yeah, even if we
don't.
That's right. But when you're laying in bed at midnight and you can't sleep, then go on ChatGPT and have a chat with them. That's probably the only good use of it. Helps you.
Yep.
Take the worry off your brain.
Well, we'll have to end our conversation here. You guys can go check out ChatGPT. Go check out some of the amazing races on the Rock, and we hope that you enjoy our conversation with Wayne. And we know that we did. But in the meantime, everyone, keep on chasing the trails.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yo.